In the year 1960, tragedy struck in Salem, Massachusetts. Hundreds of innocent men, women, and children were killed during the witch trials. The Salem Witch Dungeon is a representation of what the burnt-down dungeon was actually like, nothing more than a hole in the wall. The women that were accused of being so-called witches were kept in a tiny, unclean, and disease-prone room. Up to 100 people would be crammed into one room as big as this room shown here. The living conditions were horrible, and if you weren't hung or burned, chances are you'd die in the cell. Some women were kept in a small room, no bigger than a telephone booth, and chained to the wall. Some nights, water flowed in from the ocean and came up to as high as the woman's knees. Not only were the living conditions unbearable, but they were costly too. The accused witch, or the family of the girl, had to pay for the jail cell, the chains, their meals, their bedding, and everything they needed to stay alive in jail. If the woman could not afford all of this, the woman would suffer in jail and eventually die. To be accused of being a witch was as simple as a little lie. If you didn't like your neighbor, you could tell the court they were a witch, and the accused would stay in jail until proven innocent, and most of the time they weren't. At the Salem Witch Dungeon, they put on a reenactment of one of the trials shown here.
Children, among others in this village, of signing a covenant with the devil. We were imprisoned in Salem Dungeon where we have endured unspeakable suffering, but friends, you know me. You are a grievous liar!
Oh, and not the yellow bird that follows all that.
Poor bird, but I keep no bird.
I've seen it.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed! Not hallowed.
Please, if I make a small of an error, that is because I've been unloved and
This is the way they come upon Mr. Proctor.
Yes, Mary.
Most, if not all, of the girls held in jail for being accused were not witches and did not practice any form of witchcraft. The first accused witch was Bridget Bishop of Salem, Massachusetts. Bishop was accused more than any individual throughout the witch trials due to her flamboyant lifestyle and exotic clothing. Her fashionable apparel was said to be a snare and sign of the devil. The whole town was against her, even her sister's husband. She was charged, tried, and executed within 8 days. On June 10, 1692, crowds gathered at Gallows Hill where she was hung. Her death sentence was recorded in this document. In October of 1692, peace was finally brought to Salem. Governor Phipps issued order that protected the prisoners from harm and suspended any arrest for those who were accused of witchcraft. This made many people outraged, including Robert Califf, a merchant. He stated that Phipps only issued the orders because his wife was being accused of working for Satan. Finally, the witch trials came to an end in January 1693. The last trials was held and resulted in 19 deaths on this day. What is the cause of all this chaos and misaccusation? There are many different theories as to why something this awful could occur. Two historians, Paul Boyer and Stephen Nezebaum, believe the cause of the witch trials is explained by the conflict between mercantilists and landowners. Conflict was the wealth and the power of the merchants were achieved at the expense of farmers. However, this theory does not account for the overwhelming amount of women that were accused. Carol Carlson interpreted the economic issues differently and said that the majority of accused women owned property and had no male heir. This was a threat to the economic system in the 1600s. The tragedy that took place in Salem, Massachusetts during the 1600s will never be forgotten. Places like the Salem Witch Dungeon Museum help us remember how awful it was to be accused and to live in times like these.